Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? It's yet another fun time with the Decency NCLEX Academy, and we're here to bring you some updates about the immigration to the United States, to give you some insights. And we're going to be having our immigration attorney and friend. His name is Mr. Douglas. He'll be joining us very soon. Come on, tell your friends that let everyone know we're here, we're ready. We want everybody to join. We want you guys to all participate in this program. And then also we want you to ask your questions. So please, 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 kindly let your friends know that we are starting the program, okay? And then when you join, always make sure that you're muted so that we don't have any problem hearing ourselves in the meeting. All right. So, guys, a lot has happened over the week. It's for those in Nigeria, it was a little bit of a roller coaster because there was a lot of news about someone drowning in a river. And I watched, it was kind of an eyesore because when I watched it, I saw that, I don't know, but where are the nurses? Where are people? What is the nursing and midwifery council doing, guys? They should be able to teach people, they should set people out there to teach people how to do CPR. How can somebody drown and they bring the person out from the river? In fact, there was no form of resuscitation when they pulled him out from the river into the boat. There should be somebody at least to have a basic knowledge of resuscitation to help resuscitate that guy. And then nobody did anything. And guess what? They brought him out to the shore and nobody did anything still. Everybody was just gathered and screaming and making videos. It was so disheartening. It's actually disheartening. I don't know. I feel like going to the remote areas, especially those riverine areas, to teach them basic skills to do miracle, to perform miracle in the lives of people who are drowning. Is so terrible that no one could just do a basic CPR on that guy. That would have brought him back. Imagine they took him to the mortuary and I don't know, maybe hearsay, and they said he's still alive. And no one was still doing any CPR, nothing. What did they do? They want to go back and do some rituals. Come on, guys. In this 21st century, someone is still doing rituals to bring somebody back to life. What kind of ritual is that? Well, that's, by the way, that's not our story today, but just to let us know that our eyes should be open. Please, you guys are all basic life support care provider. You can teach people around you. You don't know where this thing is going to happen. Teach people, teach those in your family members. Don't say that they are not nurses. They're not supposed to know. Please teach them. Use someone. Get your little niece and nephews. Get them on the ground. Don't push hard on them, but demonstrate for them what they should do when somebody is having some cardiac arrest or somebody is not breathing. Because what happens in drowning, the lungs gets filled with water, and then the heart is deprived of oxygen and it stops working. You understand? It stops working. So the best thing at that point is at least to get the blood flowing, get that blood all the way, in the vessels, get it flowing, and then you can now talk about how to expel the water that has gotten into the lung. Of course, those waters are not clean. Of course, the person might have some, little illnesses and might be, covered by antibiotics and all that. But at the same time, there's a lot for us to do. I'm so I don't know. I feel bad that guy's life was not saved. And one, it was because of his carelessness, because he didn't go with his life jacket. And then secondly, because there were no people around that could, administer CPR to this guy. So please, I'm begging all of us. We have 28 people here. Anywhere you find yourself, if people say they don't know how to do BLS, they don't know how to do CPR, please teach them. Please teach them. This is one of the things that you can do before you come out of the country. Teach people around you how to resuscitate people who are dying. You don't know, you might be saving a life. Okay? So I think we have our guest here already. He told me he was logging in. He should be here any moment from now. Okay, so guys, but before we, have our guests, come over and start talking to us, we want you guys to tell us where you're viewing us from. Where are you viewing this program from? I want to know your location. We always want to do this because we want to find out the demographics of people who we talk to, and also to see if there are any specifics that we need to make mention while we are addressing everyone. All right, so please kindly let us know where you're viewing this from. Okay, so okay, he's having a hard time logging in. Let me send him the link again. Give me 1 second. As you're letting us know, let us know your state, where you're viewing this from, and then we'll be ready to start in a minute. He's gonna be joining us real quick. That's not the right one. Okay, guys. I don't know. We have a lot of people here, man. I just want you to let us know where you're viewing us from. Please, is it too much to ask? It's not. I know it's not. All right. So I have some comments already. I'm just gonna read them out. And before we start, I have Nosmori. Nosmori is locals don't know how to do CPR. Exactly. The locals don't know how to do CPR. I guess that's the, I don't know. It's so painful. I don't like remembering it because that guy was just, I believe his spirit was around there just looking at them. Save me, do something. And nobody was able to do anything. Because I don't know. Nurse Murray also said he's from Zamfara State. Nurse Murray, thank you. And you're a registered perioperative nurse. I'm also a perioperative nurse. I love perioperative nursing. I don't think I can do any. I've been to the ICU. I've worked in the ICU, ER. I've worked in med-surg. I know I'm not being biased, and I'm not trying to, talk down on any of these people. You guys are doing a lot of job. But I personally, I love my OR. I love OR. I don't think I can survive without, thinking OR and, working in the OR. All right. So perioperative nurse with Federal Medical Center, that's Mori. And then we have Modesta from Lagos. We have Lady Chukwudozie from Nigeria. We have someone is iPhone. Just, you guys should put your name when you join a Zoom so we know what your name is. All right, so we have Deborah from Abuja, and we have Ozioma from FCT Abuja. And then we have, so everybody here is Nigerian, guys. So we're gonna talk Nigerian today. Oh, we have Princess from the UK. Okay, that's the thing. I just want you guys to tell us exactly where you are, so we're able to cover that area in our discussion, guys. So if you haven't made mention of where you are, so just let us know in the comment section. If you feel like your state has been mentioned, that's okay. If you don't want to, that's okay. That's still okay. If you don't want to, make mention of your state or your country because it has been mentioned, okay? But that's fine. All right, so I believe we should have our guest right here now. So let's see. Mr. Douglas, Mr. Douglas is here. I'm gonna spotlight him. I've asked him to unmute. Thank you so much. Let me see. And pin. Okay, yeah, we have Mr. Douglas here. Mr. Douglas, you're welcome to the program. Sorry, my apologies for the links. I know it's like I sent another link to you, but I sent this one on your WhatsApp, so that might be the confusion, but sorry about that. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so we have people from different areas of Nigeria, and then we have a little bit of UK today. And our aim today is just to see if we can give some updates about the visa bulletin that just recently came out. And also if we can have some of the things that we can necessarily do or, do now that we are waiting. If you think that something that, because everybody's getting bored, he's getting bored with the wait times, man. So We want to see what can people really do at this point, not really do to fasten their process, but you've been in this for a long time. Just give us a hint or ideas on how we should get ourselves ready for the journey ahead. All right.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Unfortunately, there hasn't been any change in the visa bulletin from last month. The priority dates, there hasn't been any movement. So no forward movement and no backwards movement. So it's still retrogressed about 18 months. But
yeah, is it a good thing? I think it's come out a good thing because it didn't move backwards, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the good thing because, we always assume that it only moves forward, but sometimes it could move backwards. And so if you look at it that way, no movement is good news, right? Because
right.
You either want it to move forward or stay the same, and it stayed the same. So that's good.
Okay, sounds good.
In terms of what you could be doing to prepare while you're waiting, there isn't much you can do to make the process quicker. I mean, if there was a way to make the process quicker, everybody would do it. So, but what you can do is that what your career choice is, and while you're waiting for this process to be completed, I think it would probably be in your best interest to figure out how to make yourself more marketable, right? And so you could take some advanced nursing courses if you're so inclined. But I mean, do something that, so that you're not just sitting there waiting, that would make you more marketable when you arrive in the US. And some of these courses I understand are a year, or some of these certificates that you can end up getting paid more for. And so some of those things you could do while you're waiting, and you could it could be beneficial for you instead of just sitting and waiting.
Right. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Douglas, I've had a lot of questions recently about adoption, and I'm going to discuss this on air because I don't mind. A lot of people has actually been on the wrong side of life, thinking about adoption the wrong way. So many people are, coming to me and asking, they have nieces, they have cousins, they have maybe a house help that they want to help, is help actually. So they want the house help to be adopted into their family, and then they will add the person in the process since the thing is delayed. So one of them was actually telling me that it might be God giving her room for her to add people in the process that she will come with. So what do you think about this, please?
Oh, the immigration laws are pretty straightforward. It says that for derivatives, at least, people who can come with you, it's immediate family. And so your spouse, your children under the age of 21, those are the only people that can come with you. If you want to go adopt somebody just for the purpose of bringing them here, it's a terrible idea. I have yet to see one of those arrangements go smoothly. It fails every single time. There's 100% failure rate. And the reason it fails every single time is because sometimes some of these petitions that we submit, the people that are reviewing these things are human beings just like you and I. And so if you were the person reviewing this application and then you see that an adoption was completed a couple of months prior to this visa interview, I mean, you would think that it was done just for the purpose of circumventing immigration laws, and sometimes they fail it. And sometimes in your haste or in your determination to get these things done, you get paperwork from different agencies that conflict each other. And these people, they review these applications for a living. They've seen all kinds of documents come through the embassy, so they can spot a real document from a manufactured one from miles away, and they detect some of these things, and then it becomes a problem. My suggestion to you is just like they tell you when you're in an airplane, you put your seatbelt on first before you help your neighbor in case of an emergency, right? If you want to help a family member, the best thing you can do for yourself is to get here first. When you become a permanent resident, you're at liberty to adopt whoever you want. and your liberty to sponsor your parents, your spouse, anybody else that you want to bring. But it would be foolish for you to jeopardize your process while trying to help somebody, because then both of you lose the opportunity. It doesn't make sense,
Mhm.
right? So that would be my suggestion. Don't do the adoption just for the purpose of this immigration
Right.
process. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah. And also we've seen it go wrong. He's not coming from the place of subjection. He's coming from the place of experience. The advice Mr. Douglas is giving is coming from the place of experience, because we've seen it go wrong. Like we've seen someone who have been labeled a child trafficker by the consular officer, because they just found out that the person is claiming to her to be the child is not was not the child. You understand? So they gave the paper and they've recorded it that this person is a child trafficker. And you're not going to come to the US. And I don't think is it a waiver for child
Yeah, there's
trafficking?
no waiver. There's no waiver for it.
So there's no waiver. So there's no time in life that you can ever come out and say, okay, it's been, because some people come to the US and when they get deported, they give like 5 years, ban. You cannot come to the US within 5 years. But this one, forever. When they say there is no waiver, it means you can never appeal it. You can't even you can't sue the embassy. Even if you feel like they judged it wrong, you can't even do that. So
in West Africa, it's relatively easy to put your name on the birth certificate. And so sometimes people just put I mean, they put whatever name you tell them. These agencies or the birth and death registry folks, they put whatever name you tell them. And so if you put your name on the birth certificate, that does not necessarily make you the parents of that child. And so when we do these applications, I specifically ask people these questions, and they lie to me, And for me, my job is not necessarily to investigate the documents that you're sending me. It doesn't make any difference to me one way or the other. And so whatever document you give me, that's what I'm going to submit.
Mhm.
And the people who are reviewing your application, they're going to investigate it, and they're going to find out that the document, you sent is fraudulent. And so it doesn't, I mean, I really don't get it why you would lie to your lawyer, because, it's going to come out eventually. And and if you told the truth, we could have fixed some of those things before we got there. But
Exactly. Mhm.
anyway,
But that's true. How would you go to a doctor and lie about your illness? You can't go to a doctor and say, you're having a peptic ulcer, and you go to the doctor and say, I have migraine. And you expect the doctor to do magic to find out that it's actually not a migraine, but a peptic ulcer. So is so I don't know. I don't want to be sounding insulting, but somehow I feel like something is not right. Something is not adding up. Why would you lie about this? Some Nigerian people will say this is total village people pursuing you. Because how will you not say exactly what you are doing to someone who can help you until it gets wrong? And then that's when you come out and say, oh, this is what happened, then this is what happened. It becomes very, very, very difficult. We've seen even the agencies that are helping you at that point, because by the time you're doing this, by the time you're getting those letters, you've gotten to the interview stage, which means you have gotten an I-140, you've done everything. It looks like things are going to move smooth, but at that point, that last checkpoint, that's where they're going to determine if you are really eligible. And if you don't get through at that last checkpoint, what's going to happen is that everything you've done is quashed. And at that point, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing your immigration attorney can do. So guys, take the best option. Do not get into anything that is not legal. Please stand on the right side of the law every time. Stand on the right side of the law. All right, so I believe we said enough about adoption. We don't encourage it. We don't want you to get into it. It's always been backfiring on people. They will tell you the good part, but they won't tell you the bad part. But they will come to us and say it. So I'm saying it to you based on what people are saying, because some people that you talk to that we are doing US process and now they are in the UK and they never want to talk about US anymore. You don't know what caused it. Some of them are actually based on this kind of experiences. They've tried something and it didn't work for them and they went to another country.
well,
But
it doesn't. Yeah, if so, the U.S. The Five Eyes are the five
yes,
countries that share immigration database. So the UK, the US, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. Those 5 countries share database. And so if you've been denied a visa due to fraud, you wouldn't be able to go to any one of those 5 countries because they would have your information, they'd have your fingerprints, they would have your name. So even if you go change your name, your biometrics don't change, your fingerprints don't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really sort of you're blocking your own chance, right? So to any of those other five countries, if you've been labeled as submitting a fraudulent document or child trafficking or any one of those things, so just don't do it. After you arrive in the US and you become a permanent resident, you are free to go back to Nigeria or Ghana or wherever and adopt whoever you want to adopt and then bring them here. That's the safest way to do it.
Exactly. You see, I didn't know about the 5 eyes. So the 5 eyes, the countries that share information in terms of immigration is the US, the New Zealand, the Australia, UK, and which one is the last one? The Canada, right? So these are the countries that once you commit a fraud in one of the countries, then they're going to share the information with the other country, and then it makes it impossible for you to get to those countries, right? So that's even like you're keeping yourself more to Nigeria and Middle East. That's Saudi Arabia and the likes of those countries. That's where you might be able to go to. That's if you can summon the courage to even do that. Okay, so that brings me to the next question, because I know this is immigration based, but I'm going to ask this question also to kind of open people's eyes. We have someone who is in the UK, and the person had issues with child protection services. So the lady ended up, you know the way African parents we correct our children. She kind of spanked the child, but really not. It wasn't spanking. It was actually that she used obviously she used like cane or hanger or something like that to beat that child to the point that the neighbor reported the woman to the police, and then the child protection services came and took away the children, and then this person was left without the children. And actually the lady that I'm talking about was actually a single mother, so it was difficult for her taking care of those kids. But it's even more difficult now that she knows that those kids are with another parent. So, but her option, she's done her NCLEX. Her option is to come to the US, but she's trying to, what the question that she asked was, is this record going to prevent her from coming to the US? The record of being detained. She has been detained before because of these child abuse offenses, and also she's already applying to the US. I have another similar questions like this that we're also going to take care of. But let me ask this one for this lady first.
Yeah, the things that makes a person, it's a question of inadmissibility. So when you go to a visa interview, they're looking for 2 things. The first one is whether or not you are admissible, and the U.S. Immigration Code defines what admissibility is and who is admissible to the U.S. And then the second part is obviously the verification of your documents to make sure that all of your documents are legitimate. Now, on the question of inadmissibility, there are certain crimes that if you're convicted of those crimes would make you inadmissible. And those crimes have to be serious crimes. And so if you've just been arrested and you were not necessarily convicted, that's not going to affect you. I mean, you're still on the DS-260. There's a question there about have you ever been arrested, detained, and you have to answer truthfully. You have to say yes if you have. But telling them that yes, you have is not necessarily going to prevent you from coming into the U.S. because you were not necessarily convicted for it. And you'll have an opportunity to explain if the interviewing officer feels like it's something of substance, you'd have an opportunity to explain. But that in and of itself should not make you inadmissible to the U.S. So I don't think that person is going to have any problems with that specific issue.
Okay. All right. So that's it, guy. But just on a side note, please, when you get to some of these countries, for some of my friends that are in the UK already, please kindly be careful about child protection services. your neighbor may be smiling to you, but once they start hearing strange noise coming from your room, coming from your apartment, they are going to call the police on you. And once they do that, I mean, it's going to be difficult for you to get that record off your chat, okay? But it might not prevent you from coming from the UK to the US, but it's still going to be, it's a thumbs down on you. So please, please, those that are in Nigeria, is an opportunity. Please, spare the, they say don't spare the rod to spare the wait. Mr. Douglas, I know you're African. You know what I'm trying to say. Don't spare the rod to spoil the child.
Spare the rod, spoil the child, I think.
Yeah, so when you spare the rod, you spoil the child. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the Western world. Okay, there's nothing like rod in the Western world. It's conversation. So for people, for kids that are born here, when you tell them, I'm going to have a conversation with you, they get so scared because they know they are in trouble, you know. But in Nigeria, if you say you're going to have a conversation with someone, it's actually a good thing because you get to speak, you get to sit with your parent and talk and, you know, the dialogue and all that. So, but when you come over here or when you get to the UK, please know their laws, keep their laws, don't flout any of them, thinking Nigerian factor will come in, thinking Ghanaian factor will come in, thinking you're from Africa, you're from Jordan, like someone was saying. Always try to learn the laws of the land and keep the laws of the land because that will make you stay out of trouble. All right. And that's also applicable to those that come to the US. All right. So that's number one. So number two, have someone who got married and then they went to the UK, but she and the husband is no longer living. So they divorced. Okay. So that person is also asking. She has started her process to come to the US. In the filing and everything I-140, the husband was included. Okay. But right now, things are not going as it were. And I'm also an advocate of people should not be violent in marriage. So you're not supposed to lay your hands on your wife. If you don't like her anymore, it's okay to stay apart. Okay. So, but these people are no longer staying apart, but the guy is in his process in the UK. They are already in the UK. They are trying to go from the UK to the US. So the lady is trying to know how can she take this guy off her chat.
Yeah, the DS260 process, with the MVC stage, process, when you get there, each person has to complete their own application, right? Each derivative has to complete their own DS260 application. I want to show you this. See if I can.
Yeah, you can share your screen now.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an invitation to the MVC process for one of our candidates, and as you can see, the first one is her name, but then every single other one is got. This one is hers, and then this one is the husband's, and then the children. So each person is gonna have a beneficiary ID. You understand? And so when you get to the MVC stage, each person must complete their own DS260, even though all of you are going to go to the interview as a family unit. So if you want to remove somebody from your process after their names have been added to the I-140, when we get to the MVC stage, because when you get to the MVC stage, they're going to send this letter to your lawyer or to your agency for them to make the payments for your visa fee. So you just tell your agency or you tell your lawyer that my husband and I are no longer together and I don't want to include him in the process. And so then the lawyer will just not pay, the visa fee and then not fill out the DS260. That's the simplest way to do it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was that easy because it was looking like, I said, okay, I'm going to ask someone. I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people. I know some people that have done it in the past. I know it was just, but I didn't know that. So, but
yeah,
just to ask, can the husband still approach? Yeah, if they have gone past if they are like case complete, can the husband still approach the embassy and on his own get the visa to go to the US?
If you pass the DS260 phase, let's say the agency has paid the DS260 fee and the visa fee and you pass that stage and you're documentarily qualified, you're waiting for your interview dates. at the interview, you could still tell the visa officer that this person is no longer with you and that you don't want to include them on the application. Just like you can add beneficiaries all the way till at the
Right.
even at the interview. It's the same
Right.
thing. You can move somebody even at the interview. And
Yeah.
so tell your husband that, hey, I don't want you to come. If he insists on coming when you get to their interview, just tell the interviewing officer that I am no longer with this person and I don't want him to be a part of my application. And
Okay.
you as the principal applicant, you have a right to do that, because they're getting their status through you.
Right. Right. Okay, you can stop sharing because I know you have some information. But see, what I wanted to ask again is a follow-up question to this, because her problem is that if she decides to go this route, the visa officer, the consular officer might ask for consent for the children to join her. Okay. So the question is, can she do this and peacefully remove the husband without being asked to provide consent from the husband, allowing the kids to go with her?
The visa officers are not looking at they typically don't ask for consent unless there is a court order, a parenting plan or something like that in place.
Right.
Um, each one of the parents are free to travel with the child absent a court order, right? And so if there isn't a child custody issue or there isn't a court order preventing one parent from traveling with the other person, the visa officer has no business asking for that.
Okay. Okay. I think that has actually dissolved all my other questions, because I know the confusion was she really wanted to give her kids the best, but not with the dad, not with the father. But I guess what you said makes sense, because if there is no court order, there's no reason. Because if I want to travel with my kids and we are okay, I can actually live with my kids to anywhere I want. All right, so the next thing is there's been a lot of questions about, I know most of you are in in EPG, exclusive pre-arrival group, where we discuss a lot of things. And yesterday somebody asked a question about two agencies, and then it brought a lot of confusion in the group. I read it and I smiled, because I actually do not want us to get into the see, there's a lot of agencies out there and they are good in their own way. So I don't want us to start going into comparison, because what you see in this one, you might not see in another. So what A has, B does not have it. And this is one of their major strategies to keep themselves in the business. Okay. So there is no better agency out there. The only thing is that you have to know what you're signing, you have to know what you're going into, and then you have to be able to tell yourself when you get here that I signed this on the paper and I want to face the consequences, or I want to reap the benefits. If it's not the consequences you're facing, you're reaping the benefit, and that's okay. All right. So I just want to make that as a side comment. It's not a question to Mr. Douglas. And then I have a question from someone from Jordan. I know a lot of people from Jordan were selected in the H-1B application that we did. So I just want to ask Mr. Douglas if you can share with us the people that were selected, and then I don't know if you want to, it's up to you, or if you want to just let us know, because somebody is asking, can you please tell us about the selection of H-1B visa lottery, and if you have any information about the visa lotteries that we did, the H-1B processes that we are doing.
Yeah, let me I'm going to log into the account. They're going to send you a code. If you could just give it to me, though.
Okay. It's 941 89906.
It's at 941-89906.
Yep. Did you get it?
It's not working.
Okay. 914. Sorry, I got it wrong.
914
89906.
Okay. We did this the last time too, but we submitted 38. You can see my screen, right?
Right.
Yeah, we submitted 30 applications, and then nine people were selected. So Abiola Tolulope, Misun, Elham, Juliet, Glory Isaac, Obi, Uchechukwu, Jessa, Christiana. Yeah, I think these are the 9 people that were selected out of the ones that we submitted.
All right. Sounds good. I hope that answers your question. I think it's Elham that is asking that question, and you're one of the person that were selected. If you are Elham, congratulations, and you'll be getting some correspondence from Mr. Douglas on way forward. All right. If you have any question, you can raise your hand. I will give you opportunity to ask your question, and you know, we would you know, close this session. But if you have any question about anything at all, you put it in the comment section or you raise your hand and I'll give you the time. I will ask you to unmute so you can ask your question. All right. So while we are going ahead with that, I just wanted to ask Mr. Douglas. So you know, you've been in immigration for a whole lot of time, and I believe that we've seen retrogression, or you've heard about retrogression before. I'm not asking you to preempt or say what's going to happen, but from your own experience, do you think this retrogression is going to last for how long?
Well, that's a question that,
to say.
yeah, retrogression this is not the first time it's happened, and the visa for nurses has gone through several revisions and changes over the years. That there's always going to be a pathway for nurses to come to the U.S.
Right.
So there's a huge need for nurses. There's nursing strikes all over the states. You hear about them in the news all the time. So there are people who are actively lobbying Congress for a new kind of visa. I think it's called an H-2A, or I forget the exact name of the visa, but the point of it is to have nurses come to the U.S. much sooner while their immigration application is pending. Right. And if Congress passes that, or if that lobbying efforts are successful and that becomes Congress passes that, that would give people the ability, or nurses the ability, to come to the U.S. much quicker than they typically would. A lot of people have predicted that retrogression will be over by now, and it hasn't. USCIS just significantly increased their processing filing fees, and so it used to be $700 for filing I-140s. And now it's $715, $715, plus $600 for the asylum processing fee. And so the fee for processing your application has gone from $700 per person for just the I-140. It's gone from $700 per person to $1,315. And that is not including premium processing if your employer were to pay it. And so the fees have gone up. And we're hoping that with the increased fees, a lot of the smaller agencies would think about the people they typically want before they file the I-140 applications. And the hope is that it would reduce some of the petitions that are in place. And so if that actually works, then we could see the demand for EB3 visas go down, and if it goes down, then it means that retrogression may go away. And so there are a few things that are actually going on that we're hoping fixes this retrogression issue. But to give you a date as to when I think it might happen, I don't know. That's just the truth. I don't know whether it's going to go forward or go backwards, or it would just be pure speculation. We hope it does, but I don't have any idea when it would go away.
Thank you so much. I wasn't expecting you to quote a date. I know, because once you say something now, I have 77 people right here. They're gonna say Douglas said.
Me. Right.
They're gonna nail you for that one, man. But it's good a thing that you gave us some insight as to what is happening that might influence the bulletin and make it current. But let's just keep praying, and that's all I can say. I have Oluwaseun that wants to ask a question. Oluwaseun, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Okay, good evening, Bozzy. Good evening, Mr. Douglas.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
My question goes thus, though I'm an NCLEX pastor, but I'm just looking for a route to make it faster. But the issue I have presently is that I'm in the UK, but presently not working due to some issues I've explained to Boss D. But the route, the educational route I wanted to follow, I was told that I'm going to be asked to provide a referrer, somebody to reference me. So, but because a referral from the place where I work, but presently I'm not working. I'm just being sincere here. I'm not working, though. I'm trying to see what I could do to put me back on back to work. But I want to know, is it possible, is it proper for me to beckon on someone to just make reference for me, since I know the person owns maybe a care home or something?
When you say you're looking for, they're asking for a reference, is it the school that's asking for the reference?
I was told, what happened was I was told in the process of asking question about, I want to come via the student route.
Are we processing your student route this thing? Are you doing it with Mr.
I've been talking with you now. You gave me Mr. Funshaw's this thing.
Okay, I just wanted to go ahead.
I've been communicating with you. So, presently I told you I'm not working. I explained what happened to you.
You did, yes.
So, and in the midst of everything, Emmanuel was a person allotted to me as the person to guide me with I wanted to start, but I was just like a little bit skeptical about it. I just want more insight. So what happened now is that he was telling me that we need a reference.
Work reference.
Of what I'm doing in UK. So I told him I'm not working presently. So I don't have access to someone to reference me. But along the line, somebody opted to reference me since the person has a care home.
Okay.
So I'm not happy. I just wanted to be
sure. My question is that, so your reference is for the school. The school is the one asking for the reference letter. Is that right?
Yeah. He said the school will ask for it. Then it will also go to the immigration. I don't know how it works. I don't know.
Immigration. So the way the student visas work is that when you apply for admission to the school will give you an I-20, okay? And you use the I-20 to apply for your F1 visa. When you apply for an F1 visa, there's no requirement for a reference letter about your job. And so I'm guessing that the reference letter is for the school.
It's for the school.
Now, if the school wants to see that you have prior work experience, I mean, you've worked before, right?
I've worked. I was even asking him, can I get my reference letter from the place where I worked for 17 years in Nigeria? It was not like, since the reference is coming from Nigeria, it may not be able to, maybe like he is not sure if it's going it's going to work well. I don't know, that they will want to know what I'm doing.
I would suggest, obviously, I'm not the one helping you with this application, but I would suggest that it would be better to get a reference letter from your previous employer.
Okay.
Than it is to go and forge one.
Exactly.
Okay.
The school, if it's for the school just wants to see that you have work experience.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have 17 years of work experience, I don't know why 17 years of work experience should not be enough.
Over 17 years. I've worked with that organization for 17 years. Right. So I know.
Right. Okay. So like you said, the best thing is just to get the one that you worked in for 17 years. That should be. And I'm also going to talk to Funsho again. I know Emmanuel is good, but I'm going to talk to Funsho to take careful look into what Emmanuel is doing with you to make sure that you're getting the right information. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Bozzy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right. If you have questions, you can raise your hand. I'll give you the opportunity to ask. We're not going to be here for so long. I will be We'll be, ending shortly once I'm done reading out the questions on the comment section. So Choma is asking for what is it asking again? Choma is asking if we have talked about the visa bulletin for April. Yes, we did. I don't know if there's anything you missed out. You want to still remember what we talked about?
There's no movement. Choma, it hasn't moved forward from last month, and it hasn't moved backwards. The exact same dates. So there's no movement.
Okay, all right. So Dimple Babe. Okay, so guys, use your real name when you come to our meetings, okay? All right, so Dimple Babe is asking if someone's target is the US, and due to the delay in getting US visa, one decides to go to Canada first via NCLEX and agency. How long can the person stay in Canada before relocating to the US? And is it a good idea to do this?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. There's no rule that says how long you have to live in Canada before you come to the US. It all depends on your employment contract. So if you have a contract with a US agency, you're obligated to travel to the US when your visa number becomes available. If, however, you decide to go to Canada and you have a contract with a health facility in Canada, now you have a contract that you have to fulfill in Canada. And so it becomes a question of conflicting obligations. You have one obligation in the US and one in Canada, and you have to figure out how you mitigate those. A good way to do it is that if you've already passed the NCLEX, there's no reason why you should sign a prolonged contract in Canada. You can, if you look at the visa bulletin, it's about 18 months retrogressed. And so if you sign a 2-year contract in Canada, that should be enough time. But anything more than 2 years, I think, would cause problems for you with your US contract. So it's not how long you have to stay there. I think it has to do with your contract, your obligations in the contract that you've signed.
Right. So ultimately, it's a good idea. At least, you're going to get away from whatever you're used to right now and start getting used to the, developed country system of hospitals and getting used to, more, skills, improving your skills. It's going to be better than staying back in wherever country you are and not improving yourself. I think, financially also it makes sense to take that step. All right. So also someone is asking, Achukwu Chinyere is asking, can the immigration lawyer of an agency change EB3 to H1B? I'm thinking this question should be the other way around, change H1B to EB3, but I'll let Mr. Douglas answer.
There's no real change. When you say change H1B to EB3, I'm not sure what you...
It was actually EB3 to H1B. That's what she wrote, but I don't know if that's an error.
Yeah, but there's no change because those are two very different visas.
Yeah.
So there's no change. If you, as you know, for the H1B, you have to get selected in the lottery unless you're doing one of the cap exempt processes. So if you get selected, you can still travel to the US on your H1B while your EB3 is pending. Those two visas don't conflict. The H1B is actually a dual intent visa, and so you don't have to demonstrate a non-immigrant intent to get an H1B. So there's no change, right? You can do both at the same time if you get selected in the lottery.
All right. Thank you so much. We have 85 people in the house. And then the question is still coming and flooding my inbox. This is from someone that we've actually discussed about this issue before, but the scenario is that it's actually a direct message to me, so you might not see it, Mr. Douglas. The scenario is that this person is documentarily qualified, so, and also she and the family has been invited to the MVC for interview, and then they just got a message that they are current. They got a message that they are going to be put on hold because PD is not current. So I don't know if I said it the right way. If you want to say it, because it's been long we had this conversation. If you want to say it by yourself, if I didn't get it, you can raise your hand and I will let you speak. But if not, I think Mr. Douglas would be able to, say, but the main thing is that they were just put on hold because their PD is not current after being, passing everything and being current and everything. They were just put on hold. So have you seen such cases?
But there's a lot of confusion about. Well, first of all, no, I've not seen those cases, but I've seen people mistakenly think that their PD is current when in fact it's not, because of the charts. So if you look at the visa bulletin, there's two different. Let me just do this real quick. There's two different charts when you look at the visa bulletin, right? So there's the final action dates and there's the dates of filing. And the question is, how do you know which table to use? Because on this, on the final action date, it says 22nd November 2022. And then on the date of filing, it says February 1st, 2023. So then people get confused and can't figure out which table to use. But this is how you figure it out. You just Google which visa bulletin chart to use. You go to the USCIS website, and the USCIS actually tells us which table to use for each visa bulletin that comes out. So for employment-based preferences, for the May visa bulletin, it says that you must use the final action dates chart. And so sometimes if they use the previous chart and they invite you and then the chart changes, then they can send you an email and say you're not current based on the new submission. So I don't know what your priority date is, but you must use the final action dates chart.
Right.
So for this new visa bulletin, we have to use the final action dates chart, which is this one, November 22nd, 2022. So if your priority date is on or before this date, then you're current. If your priority date is after this date, then you're not current.
Okay. I think I saw a clarification of what she was trying to ask. So she said that the date was put on hold after I-140 approval because she's not current. So she doesn't understand what's the relationship with being current and being put on hold. So everybody is progressing to case complete and she's not because her case is put on hold. She can't pay for a fee bill. She can't do any of those processes.
Maybe I'm not understanding what she's trying to say. I mean, you could, because she asked, if she's online, she can ask the question.
Yeah. So can you unmute yourself and ask your questions by yourself? I think I might have gotten it a little bit confused. But if you're in a place where you can unmute yourself, we would be glad to answer your question. Okay? You don't need to show your face. You can just unmute yourself and ask the question.
The I-140 being approved does not necessarily give you any status,
Right.
Your
So
priority.
that's the confusion that she had, because she said that, from what she's telling me here, she said that the case was she said no, the case is put on hold after I-140 approval while waiting for welcome letter and fee bill. That's when they put her case on hold.
I get that question quite a bit. I got, the one that I just showed you a few minutes ago. I got that lady sent us an email last Thursday, and then today we got her welcome letter.
Right.
I think people are looking at this thing just wanting to move on to the next stage.
Right.
But moving on to the next stage does not necessarily give you any immigration benefits. I mean, you have a priority date on your I-140. If your priority date is not current, what does it matter whether you have a welcome letter or not? The welcome letter is not going to do anything for you. Right? You can't use the welcome letter if your priority date is not current. And so sometimes I've seen people where they send you the welcome letter and they allow you to pay, and you go through the process and you get documentarily qualified, and then now you're just waiting for your PD to become current to move forward. There's also other people that the embassy puts on hold, and the embassy doesn't process the application because they're prioritizing people whose priority dates are current. The embassy is at liberty to do some of those things. So if your priority date is not current, you getting the welcome letter and the fee paying, and then people just want to move on to the next step. And I get, but it doesn't give you any immigration benefit. It doesn't give you any leverage, or there's no benefit to getting, basically, if your PD is not current.
Wow. So I think what you said now, it totally makes sense, because it might be that they are so, overworked. They have a lot of workload, and what they are doing is to do those that their priority dates are current first, then before they do others that their priority date are not current. So, it all boils down to priority date. And I think this is one of the things that caused confusion in the group. I think somebody asked a question about priority date, and another person answered about some agencies filing premium and some not filing premium. It comes down to what Mr. Douglas is saying now. It doesn't make any sense. So if I like, our agency, for instance, if we file premium for our candidates, we're actually wasting money, because the bulletin is telling us that we have to wait for 18 months, and we have to go by what the bulletin says, okay? And then the regular filing comes out in 8 months, 6 to 8 months, and then you pay maybe $700 to $1,000 or more, to get that. But with premium, you're going to be paying up to $3,000 for that. Okay, so, and I decide to do a filing of regular for you. At any point in that process that I feel like, oh, we just became current tomorrow, every agency wants to get you here by all possible means and in the faster way. So if the bulletin becomes current tomorrow, most of those agencies are they're gonna change, they're gonna apply for premium for you guys. If they want, they can do that depending on where your case is at that time. They can apply for premium and adjust your process to premium, and then have you get your I-140 on time. But the bottom line is, whether you did your premium or you're doing regular, once you have gotten your priority date, that is the ultimate goal. The priority date is what sets you apart when this process is completed. Even if you've gotten to case complete, for the fact that you don't have a priority date yet, you're waiting for an agency to file premium for you, you're still scouting, it doesn't put you ahead in the game. And you really need to be ahead in the game. So when you pass your NCLEX, if you have not passed, and for those that have passed, try as much as possible to get in touch so that we can get you a priority date. That's the main thing. Get a priority date and start, okay? And then whenever the bulletin becomes current, at that point, you can have other discussions with anybody that hired you. But the best thing is just to get priority date. Most agencies were filing premium before we came into retrogression. And then with retrogression, that's why they are not filing premium. But that doesn't mean that they cannot. I don't know, Mr. Douglas, what I'm saying is doable, right? Agencies can actually, upgrade their processing to premium if the bulletin become current, right? There's opportunity to do that, right?
You can request premium processing when your I-140 is pending, because when you file for premium processing, you have to pay the regular filing fee. So we have to pay the $715, we have to pay the $600 asylum processing fee, and then we have to pay the premium processing fee. So if you've already applied for regular processing and visa bulletin becomes current, the employer could petition for premium processing and speed up the process for you.
Right. So that's just the answer to that question that caused an uproar in the group. So if you are with an agency that is good, just that they're not filing premium, stick with them. Okay. It doesn't matter. Whether someone is filing premium and getting you case complete and everything, you're still gonna be there until everybody becomes current and actions be taken.
I think it's important for everybody to keep in mind that the agencies, they make money when you're here.
Exactly.
Right? They want you here as quickly as you want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's anything in their power that they would do to get you here quicker, they would do that. But then you also have to understand that they're operating a business. And I know that to you, this is a personal journey, but to them, it's a business that they're operating. And they have to sort of weigh their business interests versus what you're asking. If you're asking an agency to pay $3,000 just to satisfy your curiosity of getting your I-140 approved early, it doesn't help the company. It doesn't make any business sense. You're asking them to throw away $3,000 for nothing, because paying for premium processing is not going to speed up your application. All it's going to do is just satisfy your urge to have an answer, which doesn't translate to business. And so sometimes when you're asking for some of these things, it's important to think about the other side of it. right? The agencies are operating a business, they don't have unlimited money, and $3,000 is a lot of money, you know. And if Westway is, you know, sponsoring 3,000 people per year, and so $3,000 times 1,000, I mean, that's a lot of money, you know. And you're asking for these things, and you're forgetting that agency is operating a business, and they have to think about the financial aspects of what they're doing. And it's the same thing with interviews and some of these things that we're doing, you know. You have to understand that there's effort on both sides. And when you're asking for something, you're just thinking about yourself because you know that's what you want, right? But then the other person that you're asking the thing from is thinking about you and all the other people that are assigned to them. Right. And so sometimes it's important to think about some of these things when you're having a conversation, so you can have a balanced and fair conversation and make fair requests.
Right. Thank you so much for that. You know, yeah, I think that would quiet my group. Everybody will keep calm now. All right, we have 91 persons right now. And then I have a question from OJ. Oh, sorry, OJ, yes, Ojo. Ojo is asking, hi, is it a must to get a release letter from my previous attorney who filed my application and also got a priority date for me? Because I'm currently with another agency who has filed another petition for me, and I plan using my previous priority date. Yeah, I plan using my previous priority date. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just, you know, trying to get my head, you know, wrapping my head on the write-up. So it appears there are two agencies involved now. So someone has already filed a petition, and then he wants to use another agency, but also want to use the first priority date. So is it a must to get a release letter from the attorney? Can a release letter even work in this case? For him to be able to use the old priority date from a different company?
So when you file the I-140, each applicant is assigned a specific, when you look at your receipt, there's a specific number that is assigned to you. And then you have your own priority. When you get to the NVC stage, the NVC is going to give you a case ID, and that case ID relates to the approved I-140. And so you cannot go to the NVC with a different I-140 when you have a different employer. You understand? Yeah. So some of these things, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that you have to understand that these people are operating a business. I mean, if you were the business owner and you spent $700 on the application plus thousands of dollars on an attorney, and somebody doesn't want to sign the contract, but they still want to use your money, I mean, you wouldn't be happy, right? So, you know, it comes down to fairness. Just think about it. There are human beings at the other end. Yeah. If you want to use their priority dates, maybe call them, offer to pay them back whatever they've expended, and then they wouldn't have a problem doing it. But it's difficult to ask somebody to give you something just for free without necessarily gaining anything by when they're running a business, right? I mean, you have to look at the other side sometimes. You have to keep these things in mind.
Exactly, guys. Let's know that, you know, this money is money from different people, hard-earned money from their sweat. We have to make sure that we do what is right, you know, as we progress through this process. Okay, so Dimple Babe is also asking, please, this is a personal question. So with Nigerian nurses verification, do you advise we go ahead to pay for NCLEX processing with the academy or wait for May 20th? So this question is for me, actually. So May 20th is the date of hearing. And also we are looking at the resumption date for the House of Rep and Senate is around, I think, May 26th. So we have two approaches. We are going through the law court, the judicial system in Nigeria, and also going through the legislative system or body in Nigeria. So our hope is that it's gonna work out. The verification is going to start any moment from May. Once they come back from their recess, they'll be coming back with an investigation that they've already done, because what they requested is a 6 weeks for them to do an investigation. And by then it should be up to like 6 weeks. That way they've stopped the verification process. So we'll know what is the outcome of the verification. I know that this is going to be mentioned in the House again. You guys can keep your eyes out there and your ears out too. So it's going to be mentioned in the House of Rep. It will be read again. It will pass through like the second reading and all that. But what I'm expecting that is going to happen is that people are going to open their eyes in the House, especially the House of Rep. They're going to come up and stand against this thing, and because we've given them enough evidence to show that we are not short-staffed in Nigeria. Nigeria alone produces more than each state produces about. I think the last time we checked it, each state is producing about 1,000 nurses. Depending on how many distance they have, because each school has the ability to produce 100 nurses per exam year. So times it by 2 times May session and the November-December session. So that's like 200 for one school. So schools like in states like Anambra State, we have about 7 schools there, each of them producing like 100 times that amount. So times 2 again. So you see how many that the whole entire nation is producing, and we do not have job. So we've given them every evidence. We've spoken to them. We're asking them to look into it and then allow nurses to be able to fend for themselves, to be able to even retain nurses in Nigeria by encouraging them, by paying them very well and all that. So it's a talk that we are doing by the side, because when we started this, we started it with the entire nursing group, but we noticed that nurses are not motivated to fight for their rights in Nigeria. So everybody was dragging. Most of the heads of nursing institution that was with us, that contacted us when we started this, when they had a little bit of pressure from NAM and the rest of them, they went back. So we are all alone, but we are hoping that we're going to have some success story to share with you guys anytime from maybe May 26th, when the House sits, we should be having some good news. So go ahead with your process, continue your application. You're in the right place, and we'll take good care of that. We'll make sure that this is not going to last for long. Trust me, it's going to be resolved, and we'll come out with a good outcome. All right? That's my prayer. That's my belief, and that's what I know from the connections we've made. So we have Ikejiofor. Ikejiofor is asking, with your years of experience in the immigration process, what do you think someone with priority date August 2023, August 2023, try to get that word out. August 2023 is but current. Could it be in this fiscal year or next? So I think you're asking what the priority date, somebody that has a priority date of August 2023 be current. That's someone that has a priority date of August 2023. Where do you think the person will be current? I mean, this is not a question for Mr. Douglas. It's actually a question for me. I don't think there's any guesstimate that we can give you as to when it will be current, okay? So August is not yet current. That's the only information we have as at now. It can change tomorrow. We can wake up in May and find out that August is now current. So nobody can guess it. Nobody can give you a guesstimate on how that can be. So please, we can't predict. We don't want to be held liable for our predictions. So we don't want you to go and pack your bags, sell all your things, and say that Decency and Mr. Douglas predicted that it's going to end in August, and then it did not. So nobody can predict it. No immigration attorney will be. I know you guys are listening to some people. I listen to. You listen to some people that come up in the air and they tell you, this happened in 2020, 2018, it went this way, the curve is going. Some people have actually drawn a curve from 1990, all the retrogression that we've had, how long it lasted, and when it went up, when it came down, all those kind of things. We don't do any of that. But what you know is that most of them that have predicted are hiding their heads in shame because their predictions are not working. Okay, so that doesn't mean that they don't know what they are doing. It's just that we are not a party to predictions. We believe in the real thing. If it comes out and we are current, then we see it, everybody start working on it. But right now it's not, and we don't know when it's going to be current. All right. The next question is from Chinedu. He said, my question is about verification from Nigeria, which is kept on hold. Can't CGFNS or Joseph Sini do visa screen certificate without the verification? That's the thing. So that's going to be the step 2 of our processes. So there's There's actually some research that we are making now. There are some states in the US that are willing to take you without having to do your nursing license. They can do your qualification, that is your school verification, but they don't have to do your nursing license verification. I'm going to be bringing that out by next week, some of those states. And if you're willing to start your process, you can start with those states. You can proceed and go all the way to writing your NCLEX without having to deal with the Nursing and Midwifery Council because of their license. You don't have to do your license. You will just do every other thing that is needed in the process. You will do your criminal background, you will do your board of nursing, you will do your secondary school verification, your school of nursing or university verification, but the license will not be verified. We'll progress all the way to NCLEX, and then we'll let them figure out what they want to do with themselves in the council. If by then, that's another second step that we're going to be taking. But for visa screen, which means you have already taken your NCLEX and you want to do your visa screen, what I would advise is to wait a little bit. We are looking at this thing being resolved any moment from now. But if it doesn't, then we can now start making some exceptions and looking for how we can approach those people to use maybe a previous record that you have, or they themselves can go into your nursing portal in Nursing and Midwifery Council in Nigeria and just see for themselves what your records are. So there are many approaches that we're trying to bring into place, because here in the US, all you need is somebody's NCLEX ID, and you can verify whether the person is a registered nurse or not. And it's also there in Nigerian website, that's the NMCN. It's also there, but the part that is not being used as a verification right now, but it might be something that would work on using it as verification. And that would be blessing in disguise, because we don't have to worry about verifications anymore from anybody. All right, so the next question is, hello, sir. Are you still having chance for vacancy for the visa lottery? I'm asking because I'm joining this program for the first time. The visa, Mr. Douglas, can you answer that question?
Sorry. What is what visa lottery?
Just asking about the H-1B visa.
It's closed, right?
It's closed,
the lottery is closed. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so for now it's closed. If you have passed your NCLEX and you were added to this platform, I would say, start your immigration petition and also wait. The next time we're going to have this H-1B is next year. Next year, I think February to March. That's when we're going to have this H-1B again. Okay, so if you have passed, you can come to us. We can do your immigration petition and then keep waiting for next year to come. Joy is asking, please, can I use USA NCLEX to migrate to Australia? Yes, the answer is yes, but you have to do an endorsement. So there are these 3 countries that, just like the way Mr. Douglas said that the 5 I's, the 5 I's are the countries that share information on I immigration. That's what I believe, the 5 I's. So there is also the 3N. The 3N in nursing is the US, the Canada, and Australia. They all do NCLEX. It's organized by the same body, peer review. So they are all the same, but you have to do an endorsement into that country if you want to go. Like people that I have in Canada that did the Canadian process, I'm also doing their endorsement to the US. And it's a seamless process. I'm not having any hitches at all. So I just do their endorsement to any board of nursing here in the United States, and it works very clean. They can come here, they can work without any problem, even though they wrote their NCLEX for Canada. All right. So also, I have another question. Say, good day, Boss D and Mr. Douglas. Please, concerning the student route for an NCLEX passer, how long does the visa process take, and how many years or months does the course take? That's the second question. The third question is, will the person be working in the capacity of a registered nurse while the program lasts, and will the dependents have the opportunity of joining in the Will the dependent have the opportunity of have the opportunity to work and school for the children? Okay. It's a four part question.
The visa processing, well, first you have to get admission to the program. You have to get an I-20, and then you apply for your F1 visa by filling out your DS-160 form and then getting an interview date. If you have a school date coming up, you could probably get an expedited date at the embassy if they have a start date, excuse me, for your program. So how long it takes just depends on when your start date is for your school. How many years or months does the course take? It depends on which course you registered for. If you're doing a bachelor's degree, that's 4 years. If you're doing a top up, that's 2 years. I mean, so it depends on which course that you get admitted for. F1 student visa holders are allowed to work 20 hours per week, up to 20 hours per week, either on campus, or if they want to work off campus, they have to do it with prior authorization from their DSO, and the off-campus work has to be related to their field of study. So if you're in a field of study that is related to nursing and you're a registered nurse, your DSO may allow you to work off campus as a nurse, but that's a conversation between you and your DSO.
Right.
Your dependents can come. Your dependents will get an F2 visa. So your spouse and your children under the age of 21 can come with you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. That's precise. I'm not going to add anything to that. So this is Neka. Neka Ono is asking, can my child be affected by his age? He's above 21 as a result of retrogression, but the PD is November 23rd, 2022. I have paid for fee bill and we are DQ. So it appears that before the application, the child was below 21, but due to retrogression, the child is above 21 now. So will the child age prior to application be the one that they will use, or they will use the age at the point of the interview?
There's this law called the Child Status Protection Act. CSPA is what it's called. And what it does is that it prevents people from aging out of the application process. And so to answer your question, the short answer is yes, that your child is going to be fine if they age out, as long as the underlying petition was filed before their 21st birthday.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I have another question. But please, my question is, my friend started with nurse aid route, was filed for I-140, but the NA agency, nurse aid agency, that's nurse aid agency route, terminated her contract. She wrote her NCLEX RN and passed. She is current. Can her process be changed from nurse aid to RN since her PD is current?
No, you cannot use, again, you cannot use the application from a different visa category or different, because when you look at the I-140, there's different, you either a skilled worker or you're unskilled worker. And nurse aides are unskilled workers, so you cannot use their priority dates for an unskilled worker to apply for a nursing position. That's not going to work.
Right. I hope you understand that, okay? Because I know a lot of people that apply to agencies that promised many Nigerians that they are employing nurse aides and they will be coming to the US. I'm still waiting for one single person to come here on that route of nurse aid, because I mean, if it works, fine, I would be one of the very happy persons, but I'm still waiting. If you guys have seen anybody that it has worked out for, just let me know. I've seen also some.
Westways does it. Yeah, Westways does it.
It does nurse aid.
Yeah, they used to when they sponsor nurses, because they used to sponsor nurses to take the NCLEX. They'll pay for your process and all that.
Right.
If the nurse fails the NCLEX more than 3 times, then they would apply for you as a CNA to come to America as a CNA. But that process is significantly different from nurses, because CNAs are not Schedule A workers. So we have to go through the perm process, do advertisement and all of that. And it takes about 2 to 3 years for the nurses to get here, but they come eventually. And it's a way for them to not lose out on the money that they've spent on the nurse, and also to give the nurse an opportunity to come to America and work here and eventually take the NCLEX on their own dime if they want. So it works. It's just a very different process. Okay,
new information for me. See, all right. So now another question is, say good day. What's this? Another question. That's the same question we've answered before. So let's go down. So someone is asking, Gladys is asking, do you think Donald Trump can ban Donald Trump ban can affect EB3 visa nurses if at all he gets into the office of the United States president?
I think people
You want to
are,
show us whether you're a Republican now or a Democrat?
no, I think people underestimate people overestimate the power of the president.
Yeah.
You know, these immigration regulations are law that is in effect, and a president can sort of pass an executive order to stop the process, but they cannot ban it altogether. So, for example, when Trump was in office and he had the Muslim ban from certain countries, lots of people sued and they won, and that ban was lifted. So the president cannot unilaterally stop a whole thing that has been going on for a long time, or just unilaterally make a decision to abandon a piece of legislation that has actually been passed into law. There's a process that has to go through, and you know, nurses coming into the U.S. I mean, I've never heard of anybody complaining about nurses coming into the U.S. because there's a huge need for them. So if Trump comes into office and he bans or cancels nursing EB3 visa for nurses, and by the way, nurses are not the only people that come on EB3. All these tech workers and a bunch of workers that America desperately needs all come from there. He would in effect be, you know, he would be preventing people, you know, the healthcare system for employing the nurses that they desperately need, and those would have profound effects, you know. So I don't think those are things to be worried about. It's politics, right? People talk all these things, but it doesn't actually translate into power. So I don't think that's something you need to worry about.
Yeah, I know where the fear is coming from, because I know when the last time that Trump was president, I think there were selected countries, African countries, that got an executive order from the president that but that wasn't affecting the EB3. It was just
All right,
for
talk about the travel ban on Muslim countries.
yeah. It
Yeah,
was actually, there's one for Muslim countries, and there's one that came as a result of countries that he deemed were corrupt and people that didn't have good data tracking system. So
yeah, but again, people sued him, and that didn't last very long, right?
right, that's true.
Yeah, so there's checks and balances. That's the beauty of the
Yeah,
system.
it reminded me of my citizenship interview. Checks and balances.
Yeah, there's checks and balances. So one person cannot unilaterally just, you know, make a decision, and the people's livelihoods depend on this. You know, you don't just come into office and just put a stop to it. I don't think it's something you need to worry about.
All right. So the last question, maybe I'll take it for today. I know I've kept you here for so long, is if you are selected for H-1B visa lottery and you travel with your family, what job can your spouse be doing before adjustment of status?
H-1B dependents are not eligible to work. And we talked about this, right? So your spouse cannot work. They can go to school, but they cannot work. So H-1B, you cannot adjust that as based on H-1B. H-1B is a non-immigrant visa. Now, the process that we're doing, the hope is that you have your H-1B and then your I-140 gets approved subsequently, and then you get on the EB3 and you adjust status. So when you adjust status based on your EB3, then your spouse would also become a permanent resident, and at that point they can work. But beneficiaries of derivative beneficiaries of an H-1B are not allowed to work.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Douglas, I would plead with you to take two more questions, please. So the first question is Comfort. Comfort says, I have B2 visa, which expires in 2028. I'm currently in the United States and making arrangement to write my NCLEX exam. Can you help me with adjustment of status when I pass?
So you're in the U.S. on a B1, B2, and you're about to take the NCLEX, and you're asking to adjust status after you pass the NCLEX. Is that it?
Yes.
Well, that's impossible, because you have to apply for the I-140. You have to wait for your PD to be current before you can apply for adjustment of status. And so if retrogression wasn't in effect, then yes, you could have done that because you can file I-140 and I-485 concurrently. But with retrogression, that's impossible. So you would have to, and this is a good question, because we have some people who come to the U.S. on a B1, B2, and then they apply for asylum, and then their intent is that the asylum would sort of keep you legal in the U.S. until you can adjust status to an AB3. Asylum, filing asylum, having a pending asylum is not a status, right? Even though it allows you to remain in the country until they make a decision on your asylum case, it's not a status. So if you come to the U.S., let's say on a B1, B2, and your I-94, you apply for asylum, and then your I-94 subsequently expires, and your I-140, your PD becomes current, and you want to apply for an EB3 visa, you have to leave the country and do a consular process in your home country to be able to come back in. You're not eligible to do an adjustment of status. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're here on a B1, B2, and you said it expires in 2028, B1, B2 doesn't. You have a multiple entry visa that allows you to stay for 6 months at a time. But look on your I-94 to see what your authorized stay is, and don't overstay your visa because it's going to affect your EB3. So you can leave. You have a multiple entry, so you can leave and come back, right? If you want, but don't overstay your visa because we cannot adjust your status without your PD becoming current.
Right. Okay. I hope you got that. If you need more information on that, you can reach out to us, and then we can see how we can dig that. But I believe that question was thoroughly answered. All right, so guys, we're going to draw the curtain right here. I believe you've gained some knowledge about the US process. It was, in fact, for some of you that didn't join us when we started, the questions that I asked in the beginning of this session were life experiences of people like you who are in different countries and having challenges with immigration, having challenges with child protection services, battling with, an abusive partner and trying to leave the relationship. So if you want to listen to that, you can go to our YouTube. I'm going to post this on our YouTube in a few hours. So you can go there and listen to it and get some insight into some of these challenges and also be able to prevent it. All right. So I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Douglas. I know that he might have one or two final words like we always do. But before then, if there's any question that is very pressing that any of you have, I can just take one. If there is none, we can close, but you have to raise your hand and then we can hear from you. But if not, we can just draw the curtain and call it a day. I want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Douglas. Mr. Douglas, you have any final word for us today?
I think we covered it. Don't beat your kids. If you're in the UK or you're in America, please don't beat your kids. Don't want to catch a felony. Please, right. Don't beat your kids.
Okay? Yes. So you can beat them all you want in West Africa, but once you get over there, stop, please, stop. Okay, I'm telling you this from experience of people that are battling with child protection services. It's not easy. It's not easy to not see your own kids. Like, you have to take permission from the government to go visit your kids in those homes where they're living. And most of the places they're going to take them to, your house is even better than those houses. Like, they're going to give them to people that you're not even sure that these guys are well taken care of. You are like, I take care of my kids more than these guys, but still nobody's going to believe you because of that singular act of, beating. So please, 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 if you haven't formed that habit yet, if you're still in Nigeria, start to cultivate the habit of, we're going to have a conversation. I know it will be difficult for you to say, when your child does something, because the next thing is just you pick up your slippers or you pick up a belt and you follow up, a commensurate, you just reply the person with a beating. But what we're asking is, start to have that attitude of having conversations with your children. And even if you have to spank them, don't leave a mark on them. Don't leave any mark, no traces, so that they might be confused. They say, you beat, I did not beat. Where is it? There's nothing. You can't see anything. But once you leave a mark, and once it's bleeding, then forget it. That child is not going to be your child anymore. It becomes a government child. And sometimes they take them to some behavioral, they do rehabilitation, they do therapies for them because they believe that you've been abusing them at home. All right. And don't put your hand in anything adoption. It doesn't work well. We've tried it. We've seen where we didn't try it actually, but we've seen people who tried it and it did not work well for them. So leave adoption. If God said that some of your nephews and nieces are going to come to the US, do it the legal way, do it the right way. Bring them when you're already here, go back to Nigeria, start the process, or, you can even get admission for them in the US. They come here, they school, they find a way to stay back and all that. But do not get into the adoption thing because it has left so many people from West Africa have been left without any option of coming to the US. And I don't think they can go to the 5 I countries. That's the Canada, they can't go to Canada, they can't go to UK, they can't go to New Zealand, they can't go to Australia, they can't come to the US. So please take note of this. And as we round up, we're going to see you guys next week. I don't know about next week because we're going to California for a program next week. But if it's going to hold, you will see a link that says that we're going to have a meeting next week. So when we send that out, you can join us and we can have more discussions about similar cases like this. At this point, I want to say a very big thank you to you guys. You guys, please kindly appreciate Mr. Douglas. It's not easy to get him, man, but thank you so much for coming. I appreciate
you. Have a good weekend, bro.
You too, sir. Bye.